Wearing bonnets and durags in public. Is it professional? Is it acceptable? Well, Tuskegee University does not think so. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so if you haven't heard, there was a recent news article that came out, or a bunch of articles that came out, because I think a lot of media outlets touched on it, is that Tuskegee University in Alabama, which is a HBCU, they are implementing a dress code this semester, this upcoming semester. I can't say that it's new because I've also read that they've done things like this in the past, but it's essentially banning students from wearing do-rags, bonnets, any sort of thing to kind of protect their hairstyles, and also wearing like distracting clothing, whatever they deem distracting, pajamas, slippers, pretty much any lounge or bedwear to school during classes and during school hours. So a lot of people have mixed reactions with this. And of course, on my channel, I like to give like a very fair assessment and a very balanced perspective on these things. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. All right, so guys, it's that time of year again. It is back to school. As you see, you have advertisements and everything around saying back to school with this, get your free backpacks, get your school supplies. College admissions are on fire right now. Everybody's kind of gearing up for the upcoming fall semester. And one of the things that came out that a lot of people are kind of talking about is what Tuskegee University is deciding to do. So I'll link a couple articles down in the description for you guys to read for yourself. But just a quick overview, what Tuskegee University is looking to do, they're looking to elevate their presence, to elevate their image, I would say, on campus by implementing a dress code or kind of give guidelines to what's acceptable to wear on campus. So for those of you who have not read the article, I'll run through it really quickly. So the president sent out a memo to all upcoming students and parents saying that in the school, they will not allow you to wear do-rags or bonnets, right? They won't allow you to wear loungewear such as pajamas, slippers, anything revealing or that can be deemed distracting in the classroom. They're also limiting cell phone usage as well. And a lot of people have mixed reactions to it. I think also they were saying that when they have professional events or business, related events and interviews and meetings and things like that, students are expected to wear, essentially professional wear, whether it's suits, ties, sports jackets, polos, button-ups, so on and so forth, right? So when this article came out, like I got wind of this, just kind of looking on Instagram and TikTok, people kind of talking about it. Then I saw the article on Essence and Yahoo, and I believe HBCU. I can't think of the name of the website, but there was an HBCU blog that also had it as well. And this was met with a lot of mixed reactions. So I'm gonna give both sides some perspective, and hopefully we can have a conversation about it. Like I said, if you guys want to join the conversation, drop a comment down below. As you guys know, I reply to all the comments that come on my channel. So yeah, so let's talk about the people who are for it. I'm a millennial, right? So I was born in 92, do the math on that as far as my age. So I would consider myself kind of a mid-age, older millennial. So I do understand both sides of this. So a lot of older generation, right? We were brought up to believe you dress to impress. I remember hearing things like you dress for the job that you want, not the one that you have. First impressions is everything. Dress for success, etc., etc. A lot of older generations, especially grew up in the African American community, a lot of older generations associate the way that you dress with the way the world, sees you overall. I feel like when I was coming up, it was kind of getting away from that and going to more of the lounge wear, like your joggers and your hoodies and your t-shirts, and kind of more casualizing the workplace. When you look at companies like, Starbucks or, tech companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, they kind of casualize, Meta, that's another one. They kind of casualize the work environment. Like you rarely see a lot of these tech executives wearing, suits and ties and things like that, unless they're going to like some sort of Met Gala or some sort of like presidential political rally or something like that. So in my generation, I kind of saw both sides of the coin, right? I remember, hearing older people say how they used to dress up to go to airports and used to dress up to go to, to the grocery store, because you never know who you might run into. And when you're out and about, that can be deemed as a networking opportunity, and you want people to perceive you as a professional. I do understand that, right? But on the flip side of that, I would say the work landscape has changed so dramatically since then that I feel like my philosophy on this is you want to dress for the job that you want. So a lot of times in these creative fields, like me, for example, I'm in the creative field, tattoos and, casual dress. I'm not a suit and tie type of guy. When I was going to shout out to my college, I did go to college, went to FIU, which is not an HBCU. every time I went to class, I wore something similar to what I'm wearing now. A t-shirt, hat, joggers, so on and so forth. So I don't like dressing up. Even to this day, if I have to like put on like a button up or a tie, I'll still do it, but I'm very reluctant to it because I like comfort. Like I try to dress for comfort, right? When I go to the airport, I usually have on like a sweatsuit, hoodie and sweats and some sneakers, right? So I'm 100% on board with the students saying, hey, we want to dress for comfort. You know, we want to make it a very comfortable learning environment. But at the same time, though, you can do comfort and still look decent, right? We're not saying that you have to put on like a full-on Nike Tech sweatsuit or whatnot, but I'm just saying at least have some pride in the way that you look. Now, as far as the do-rags and the bonnets, I understand those are protective measures that people take with their hair, especially within the black community. Now, me, I've never been a do-rag guy. You know, I never really care about having waves like that. Like, I always kept like a fresh Caesar haircut, and I always brushed and combed or whatnot, but I never really was one of those guys that had like the 360 waves and always had to wear the do-rags. And as far as the bonnets, I can't really speak to that because my mom and my grandmother and my cousins, I never seen them wearing bonnets outside of their house, right? So wearing bonnets in public, I know there's always a controversial thing about that. People argue back and forth. I don't have a dog in that fight in particular. And when it comes to the maintenance of having waves, I can't really speak to that either because I never was in the pursuit of them. So I can't really speak to that regimen and what that looks like and how long you have to keep these things on. But again, I do feel like there are ways that you can still protect your hair and your progress and whatnot, and still not wear the bonnet and the do-rag. Now I know people say, well, I should be able to wear what I want, blah, blah, blah. But again, I believe that what Tuskegee is trying to really bring home is just really what they really want to do is the perception of it. When people see, you know, young black men in do-rags, they automatically associate that with gang culture, gangster culture. Same thing with young women, unfortunately, with the bonnets. When you see a young woman with a bonnet out in public, they say it's tasteless, it's ghetto culture, blah, blah, blah. So I think this is just kind of like a classic example of just older people in their mindset and what they grew up and what they saw in their life experiences, and younger people who kind of grew up in a different time, in a different era, saying, hey, we don't really hold these standards like you guys do. So, yeah, in my opinion, you know, I think the backlash is a little overblown because they're not saying that you have to wear a suit every single day. They're not saying that, you know, you can't be comfortable. Nowhere in that article did I say that you couldn't wear a t-shirt or a nice pair of sweats or joggers or chinos or whatever. There are ways that you can wear very comfortable clothing and still look presentable. So I think Tuskegee, I think it's an interesting thing. I'm really interested to see how it's going to play out actually when the school year start, how they're going to enforce it, what's the rules going to be. And I'm really curious to see what you guys think about it. Me personally, I don't think the rules are outlandish. I don't think they're asking for too much, but again, I do understand the tension that some people may have with this. So anyway, I just want to hop on and kind of get my 2 cents on this. Drop a comment down below. Let's have the discussion. And yeah, I'll see you guys next video. All right. Peace.